here on the Penobscot River, rich in history. Industries important to the state of Maine. Things like fishing and boat building. For better than 235 years now, the town ready for a resurgence as it moves forward. One man who's seen just about all Bucksport has had to offer is, well, cutting my hair right now. Barber Frank Dunbar has been here on...
Learn a lot about how bond payment and performance bond works and how to rebid a scope of work that's partially completed. But ultimately, one of our original bidders from the original full scope of work was Independence, and we hired them to complete the work. And they started mobilizing and staffing early April, but first start day full crew April 18th. To date, from April 18th, we're very happy with the work that they're doing, the equipment that they brought, as well as the staff that they brought. Its crew size is fluctuating just a bit, but normally 15 operators and labor support. About 4, it goes up and down a little bit, but about 4 to 5 of those workers are from Maine, from local workforce, and the remainder is a core crew from Cleveland. This weekend actually be the first partial crew. 3 operators will be working on Saturday. I appreciate the town of Bucksport's support in letting us work extended hours, as quite a few of these workers are from out of town, and definitely in the summer months will be taking advantage of the extra work day. So again, thank you. The railroad is been quite supportive. We're actually getting into a system now where we're getting weekly switches of them, Pan Am bringing empties and pulling away the fulls to go to market. So the coordination is fine. We're happy with what they're doing for us. So I know a lot of questions have come. So since we had a month and a half of downtime there in the middle of switching contractors, how are you doing for keeping on schedule? And the existing demo scope will still be completed before year end. So we're doing good. The next slide, I actually have kind of an overview of the buildings in the demo area.
Jeff, after the demo part is finished, what's the next step after that?
Well, already I get to site redevelopment options. Already things are happening with what might be next steps. I mean, there's some things even before redevelopment. The phase 1 environmental review work for the complete site, that's a ongoing and next step as well.
I see you've got redevelopment options on the next page, so we'll wait till we get to that, I guess.
Okay. So here it's a bit tough to orientate, but here's the river edge. Demolition was started in this area, and if you've gone on the other side of the river recently, basically progress for demolition has been like here. So next area of focus is going to be the last riverfront building, and then progress up toward the end of demolition. So still the focus is almost all the loading of steel is out the railroad track area and then along the roadside. We did get a few calls. It's just off this drawing, but we demoed one of the buildings real close to the road here recently. We wanted to make sure that we could do some railroad car loading there. So it was high visibility, and people really noticed a change of some of those roadside, railroad track side buildings.
Are you going to be loading some metal?
We're going to load a little bit there. Just primarily what it'll be is the buildings and material over in this area. We just wanted to confirm that we could reach and it'll work there, so that we don't have to bring everything here to the railroad tracks. So the other key component along with demolition here on our site is the power plant. So I updated earlier for this group. We've made some changes since we took ownership with the power plant. It's no longer running base loaded. We're each day running, or bidding, I should say, bidding into the merchant market and only running when we would get picked up from ISO based on economics. So we bid daily. Ownership to date, it's been challenging market conditions on the power plant operations side. Low natural gas prices equates to low electricity prices. Combined with we have a transmission constraint between here and the large Boston market. So it's been challenging to make money, and we quite honestly haven't run very many days. That's the bad and tough news. The better picture is we've made quite a few changes. The most recent here about a month ago, in which we enabled the gas turbine to run as a standalone unit. It's called the Simple Cycle Fast Start. So rather than the gas turbine having a 4 to 6 hour startup time and costs, the unit now can be run without any of the steam turbines and has a 30-minute off to full load time frame. So we're hoping that that does a couple things. It cuts our costs. We'll be running a little bit more in that scenario, but it also allows capacity markets. Lets us get into capacity markets that we hadn't been able to get into earlier based on the longer startup. So here, actually, this week, the staffing changes were final and realized, and so the operating crew for the power plant is 6 operators and 2 maintenance personnel.
Jeff, we have a question in the back of the room.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering, is that system going to be able to go back to bioenergy at all in the future?
Yes, so we have not made any changes to the biomass feed system or boiler. We actually bid in each day based on costs such that we could start the biomass boiler any day. Of course, it's more of a delayed, so we obviously don't have any chips on site right now. So if we were picked up, it would be in about a month. It would be running. So it's more of a quarterly view rather than a daily view.
Is it true that the biomass is a better profit for you?
The biomass right now is not profitable for us, thus we're not running it.
So the gas is actually better with room to go?
The gas turbine is more economical, and like I said, it's also not being run every day.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So I mentioned the capacity markets. The changes that we've made are allowing us to be in more capacity markets, more money to be achieved there, as well as opens up different markets of bidding into real-time markets and ultimately looking at all options for the power plant. The utilities and structure, more as it relates to demolition. It was quite a project in itself just to get the paper mill buildings and utilities separated from the power plant. We're about 80%, maybe 85%. So in the next month we'll be totally separated in terms of utilities and power plant being a standalone footprint. Just a brief update on the landfill. I think I already updated here that since we took ownership, we amended the permit for the landfill to receive construction and demolition waste from our project, and currently still working with the DEP on testing, water testing, leachate testing, levels as well as timing in between tests for the existing landfill license. Environmental site review. So earlier this year, the town of Bucksport received a grant for the Phase 1 environmental study Campbell Environmental Group was selected and clarified the scope for us as well as the town. And all of the, well, they're going to make one more site visit here, but the majority of the site visit work is completed. The Campbell and Associates brought, I guess, 3 or 4 former employees as well as some town employees to gain background and information on what historically was there, and it was an all-day on-site meeting to gather as much information as they could to assemble the updated report. Interviews off-site and document review are still ongoing, and my understanding is here later this summer the updated Phase 1 would be completed. Dam and water, really the levels are good, flows are pretty steady, not a lot of changing of flashboards or flow, no pumping so far to control level at Silver Lake. Based on levels and flows right now, we wouldn't expect that to be occurring until well into summer. And we're currently reviewing. Last year we had Kleinschmidt, consultant for hydroelectric and standalone dams, do a complete overview of our dams and laid out a maintenance plan for the next 5 years. So we're currently reviewing what of those items would be finished up here in the summer. Yes, sir.
So the water pumping system from Alamoosic, is that all operational?
Yes. Yep. It's a required part of level control, so it's fully operational. We just haven't had to use it because all levels are in the acceptable range. So the site redevelopment, so it's an ongoing process for sure as to what might happen on the remainder of the mill site land other than the power plant. But you might have heard a bit here in the news, Maine Maritime Academy may have interest in the 2-story office building as well as the wood wharf on the riverfront. They actually, in fact, today made a site visit. They're still finalizing what they might be interested in and approximately how much land area to be with some of these building structures. And still, I've mentioned this before, but we still get a lot of calls and a lot of interest of utilization of the river and rail and trucking and many combinations of those for cross-docking. So there's nothing firm or no set plan, but it definitely seems based on interest that that would be part of a site redevelopment plan that that has interest, that has uses and interests. That's about all I had. Any questions?
Got one right behind you.
Yes, sir.
Now, have you done any kind of like planning about what kinds of, like, any kind of strategy, overall strategy about redevelopment? Like what would fit there the best, so you guys would love the best and all that kind of stuff, or?
We have not.
Okay. You wait and see what comes your way.
Yeah, so I think it's been a work in progress up to this point. We didn't exactly know what the power plant footprint was going to look like. You know, initially we had most of the wood yard piled full with wood chips. And now today we don't have that, and we don't need that, but we still need the ability to have some of that area except wood chips. So the footprint that will be used in a redevelopment phase is now starting to expand as the mill goes away.
Yeah.
So I think it's on our radar that some type of a formal process here in the middle of demo, so say later
Yeah.
this year to
So you bring in somebody to look at what the repurposing and redevelopment options are, kind of a sort of plan to, okay. Is that kind of like the way you guys work? You do that, you bring in somebody at some point to figure out what.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a real estate broker, sometimes it's a specific company or two.
Sure.
And a little bit, that's why I put the line item there of cross-docking, transportation. So maybe, at least our idea is maybe there's some state people that we should be talking to. And we've had initial conversations of a port. Maine has 3 ports, but could this be an addition?
It's great to see things come together for all the, just everybody win-win kind of thing. But.
And it is becoming more apparent as this real estate gets opened up alongside the river. So we think, not quite right now, but a couple, 2 or 3 months, it'll be much easier to visualize what might be able to happen there along the river.
Have you thought about how that discussion could occur? Is it something you just do internally, or would you think about maybe bringing in interested parties like maybe the town and the state and people like that, have some kind of a,
Yeah, we would definitely welcome that. Some of those conversations are already started.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yes, sir.
you had mentioned when I was one of the people that came in for that environmental survey,
Yes.
and you had mentioned that...
I didn't want to single you out, but thank you for your
you were.
involvement. But yes.
But at that time, you had mentioned that you were looking into possibly all the power comes into like a number 1 switch room right now, and you had to somehow work that around to get that all brought over into the power plant. Is that what you were talking about when you said you're 80 to 85% complete on that?
I was on that slide. I was really more talking about we still have some utility areas. We still have some sanitary that has to be rerouted. We're considering extending the Silver Lake underground water from the mill site, former, where it comes into the mill now, over into just the power plant footprint.
Right.
So those are the things that we still are working on.
But at that time, you said when you did get that electricity severed and everything was over to the power plant, that you would start phase 2 demolition, which would be some of those buildings closer to the road. Do you have a schedule for that?
We're working diligently to define what are some of the non-essential buildings for the power plant footprint. So we've been working. So
Right there.
it's really these buildings here are not in the current phase of demolition. It has a breaker control. It has wiring that goes through it, what you're referring to. And we're hoping here in June we'd have an engineered plan to eliminate that wiring path that goes through the buildings. Nothing else operational in, say, these 6 buildings, and have this as the only switchgear room before it gets to the outside switch yard. And given that we could have an engineered plan executed here in the summer, we would be coming back to say we'd have a small phase 2, it's under 100,000 square feet roof that we would be looking to add on to the demolition scope of work. So that's a lot of words of saying we're hoping here by early fall that we'd be coming back to the town to say we need to revise this a little bit to include this area in demolition.
And with the anticipation of 6 or 8 months demolition on that area, or even less than that?
Less than that. We're hoping we're hoping to get this defined, do the electrical path elimination, go to our existing contractor and say we would consider negotiating an arrangement with you to add on this scope of work and try to finalize it that way.
Thank you.
Did I hear you, by the end of December, including that, possibly all will be, the demo will be done?
By the end of December, everything that's gray in the original scope of work will be completed. I can't quite tell you this additional area will be completed by December, but it's about a fifth of the work, a small percentage, and if we could get to the contractor soon, that our plan would be to allow them to work on that area kind of simultaneously with the existing scope of work. So with the additional area, I think it's March. It's slightly into the new year to have it completed, is our current plan. Yes, sir.
Mr. Fellow back there first.
Yeah, I noticed you brought up the cost analysis for the dam upkeep. Is that something that AIM might think about letting somebody else deal with in the future, or?
We're not considering that right now. The dam is a critical part of the water supply. The water supply is a critical part of running the power plant. And we see that as also having potential options for redevelopment. So we plan to keep the complete dam and water rights system.
Mr. Rabb?
Yeah, Mr. McGlynn, while we have this plan view up here, I didn't work at the mill, so I'm not familiar with the insides, but the folks from Maine MMA, the
Yes.
building that they're talking about, can you point out where that is and which wharf area are they also talking about?
Okay, so the wood wharf is this.
Okay, so that's over there by where the barge is, that we see the barge and stuff?
Yes, the
Okay.
DEP barge is normally
Okay.
tied to it.
Yeah,
And the two-story office building is right here.
okay.
I think that's it. It's straight in from the guard entrance. The
Okay.
two-story standalone office building.
Okay. And another question while all this is going on is regard public safety and so forth. All the water hydrants are energized. There's minimum lighting in areas and things like that for.
So you mentioned a few things there. So
Okay.
not all the hydrants are pressurized. We have roughly half of them are energized. The ones that are not energized are covered and
Yep.
labeled as such. So fire protection, public safety is okay, as well as the contractors using that system for dust and fire protection for their work.
Gotcha.
Buildings that our employees have access to and need to work in are fully lit. The buildings that are not lit are the gray, in full demo mode, that are not safe to be in, and our contractors as well as our employees know it's taped off, it's blocked off, so it's tough to get into.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
going back to the landfill amended permit, currently working with DEP on testing timing requirements for power plant waste. Could you be a little more specific and give me a little bit more detail on that?
Sure. So the amended permit that we got from DEP to allow construction and demolition waste, along with the new wastewater permit, really defined the testing for leachate for a municipal waste landfill. So we started doing some testing, and for example, zinc has to be tested for in a municipal waste landfill. Well, our landfill is not a municipal waste landfill, and ultimately our testing and limits were not working for us. So the working with DEP is to say, we think we need to have these permit levels and some of the components that are tested for altered. And DEP is agreeing, and we're working through what is it that we need to test for now. It's an active permit review.
What do you envision when it's all through? Do you have a vision of what this whole site's going to look like? As far as a pickup, cleanup, so on and so forth.
As far as a pickup,
Pickup, cleanup, I mean, there's obviously, once everything's come down and been taken out and carted away, you're going to have what you've got left there. How do you envision that looking? I mean, I know it's a broad question, but
Well, I think you're asking about when demolition is complete, before any redevelopment happens, what does the site look like?
right.
Okay, so really, this entire gray area is going to look like a flat concrete, clean slab. That's what you'd see from the river and the road across the river.
So I know we're keeping the concrete slab, right?
Yeah. In the scope of work that the contractor has bid and agreed to, that any area that's raised above 6 inches from the concrete slab is to be removed. So the extended motor bases or walls that are block or concrete that are above the slab on grade will be removed.
And you have, there's two drainage trenches down those two machine bays, right?
Yeah.
And they are part of your stormwater controls.
They are.
Okay. And they'll remain.
They will remain, and those trenches are below the
Right.
slab level.
Yes, yeah.
From your perspective, when do you envision would be a good time for you to come back in and give us another updated report? I mean, 6 weeks?
Yeah, I was going to say a month. I'm happy to come anytime. My thought would be I could provide an update similar to this even at the meetings that I don't come. I think some of it is going to look a bit repetitive to you 2 weeks from now, but 4 to 6 weeks from now, I definitely will come and give an update.
That'd be great. Any other questions? Thank you very much. I really appreciate your
Thank you.
information. Okay, we're going to jump down to item E. It's a Route 46 plow contract, discussion of options. We need to take care of this because then we have to go on to actually taking up action on that before one of our members has to go to a job assignment.
We had talked, our current Route 46 confound contract expired, and in discussing the council had authorized me to talk to our existing contractor, who's been doing it for 8 years very successfully, about another contract, and there were some parameters on that, and the request for an increase in this contract was at 25%, and I was not comfortable in simply saying okay without coming back to the council and talking about what this translates to. The request is 25% in the first year, and then similar to what the contracts have been most recently, 5% a year for any years after that. He indicated that over the 8 years he had had a couple good years, a couple terrible years, and several sort of average years, but that since the town had changed to salt priority, that the maintenance of his equipment was more of a challenge in terms of avoiding rust, etc. But beyond that, on the plus side, he's done a very good job for 8 years. The town has had very few complaints, none that I'm aware of, in regard to the manner in which he's done it. And if you go outside of this, the town has installed a computer in that vehicle to handle the salt priority, and if you go to someone else, you'll have to take the computer out of that and put it in whatever vehicle that you went to. I talked to our Public Works Director about the idea of utilizing another vehicle and bringing on another person, a winter person, in order to do this. He indicated it would not be possible to do that with just one person because of the way in which the town handles its sort of 24-hour maintenance regimen. And so then I went through the exercise today of looking at what it costs us to do winter maintenance, has for the past 2 years, in a very generalized way, compared to what our current contract costs and what our current contract would be with the increase. The Route 46 mileage, according to our Public Works Director, is approximately 10 miles. At a contract of approximately $70,000, that's $7,000 a mile for the winter. That's straight math. In 2015-16, the town itself expended for wages, overtime, benefits, equipment repair, and fuel. This is not equipment purchase to do it, and it's not insurance on vehicles. And there's a reason I didn't include those. But anyway, in 2015-16, for the same months that we had a contract on Route 46, the town expended $331,000 and change on its own highway department to maintain the other 50 miles of road that the town maintains on its own. In 2014-15, you expended, I can almost talk, $392,516, and that is because it was a much different winter in 15. So in 15-16, on the other 50 miles of road, you expended about $6,600 a mile, and in 14-15, almost $7,900 a mile, if you look in straight terms. And the reason that I did not include insurance and the truck cost is that the Public Works crew also maintains sidewalks. There are some other things that happen. If you kind of set that aside, figuring those costs offset, what becomes clear is that what we would be expending on a contract at $70,000 is comparable to what we're expending on our own personnel, but we have no liability, we have no insurance or other things that go along.
That was one question I had, is he has the liability.
He has the liability.
And insurance on his side of the deck.
That's correct.
Okay.
And while he pays for fuel, he purchases it through our contract. We supply the salt, but we supply the salt for our own. And again, in looking at the past couple of years, what becomes clear is in some years it would look like, gee, the town could do it better themselves, but in others it looks like we're getting a deal, even at a raise. The other difficulty becomes in sort of looking holistically, regionally, what options are out there. If we put it out to bid, somebody would have to put this computer in one vehicle and only use that vehicle on this route, because that's the one that is tied to our process. Mr. McIntyre, generally it's my understanding in the past this has been decided by March of each year. It wasn't this year, but this is the last year on the contract. Every other year I think it's been kind of just moved ahead. The idea of the town leasing a vehicle and hiring, that's an option. I'm not sure that it's going to get you to a less expensive place than changing this contract.
What would a new employee cost us for a year?
A full-time new employee with benefits?
Yeah, 80, 90, 100?
A lot.
Okay.
No, I mean, it would be, even if you said
More than the contract is.
more than the contract.
You'd have to have two people to cover the 24 hours, too. So,
And you could...
No, I'm agreeing with
Yeah, if you
the,
did...
the manager's logic, because if you take it out over 5 years, with increases he's looking for and so forth, it amounts to about $414,000. And back to her point, even if you lease the vehicle, then the cost of a person, granted during the course of the year it'd be doing something else, but it's based on the numbers she ran, the logic.
there.
What was his, again, his rationale for a 25% increase? I mean, fuel
He
down?
talked about the maintenance, increased maintenance costs, and that since the town switched to salt priority, that was more difficult. That was harder on equipment, and he wasn't in a position to be going out and buying new vehicles regularly, that this vehicle that serves this route would be a long-term vehicle, and that would be, he was expending a good deal on the upkeep of that. Again, in 2014-15, I think it's clear that he kind of took it on the chin in terms of the contract, because we had 53, I think, plowable events in 2000. We had 20-some this past year, so it kind of does this, but the...
It's about 12 feet of snow we had that season.
Yeah, well, and I won't call it a problem because I don't mean employees of problems, but bringing on more people to do this contract is, even if you just brought people on in the winter and you used a couple of them and then you used your spare truck, but then if another truck goes down, you don't have another spare to back that up. It becomes, or the other option is extending plow routes, and that just extends time. You know, if you make the plow routes longer, then people are not going to have their roads plowed as often as they are now. That's where that goes, and that's...
Yeah, we can't do that on our way.
I agree with that.
you know, these are the things that you could consider in terms of this. I think that the budget we have will absorb this if you choose to do it. And it's a one-year contract, so if you chose to look more deeply into things in the next year, you could, but I'm not sure that right this minute our options are anything that's less expensive than what would be doing with this contract in the coming year, based on just our own cost of doing
Is it
business.
necessary for that route to be salt priority, or could they adjust it to like a salt sand mix or whatnot? Does it? Just wondering if that is an option at all.
I'm not sure that would change his bid. I think his bid is based on the number of miles in the route and what it's costing him to maintain the truck, and it's...
One of the reasons we went to contract that anyway several years ago is because we had to have a truck almost designated for that, because the way the road was, it was the plows were wearing in a certain pattern, and those trucks couldn't be used on other roads because Route 46 is a little bit better now than it was 8 years ago. But that was one of the reasons that wear and tear on that particular road was really hard on our equipment.
Yeah.
And that's why we kind of went to a contractor. So
that's what I'm just wondering, if it wasn't a salt priority, would it be an option to put it out for bid for another contractor to maybe not have to have that computer installed, or what, you know what I mean? Not be. I've heard wonderful stories about Momag. I'm just wondering if it's an option at all, I guess. And I know you've looked into it much, Susan, so I'm not...
Well, the Route 46 is a state road, and state roads are salt priority. The towns went to that for its own roads because it saved a lot of money doing that. But I'm not sure that going away from salt priority on a state road is something that we could do, because it's, even if it's our responsibility to do it, because state roads are done as a salt priority.
And I know that road there, because of the trees and everything like that, ice was a big issue out there, so I think salt was a way of trying to keep that road with less ice buildup. But
yeah. I guess what's going through my mind is, again, how did you pick 25%? You know, I mean, will somebody else do it for 15%, or there's nothing? That'd be my question. Or whatnot, so.
It sounds like we can review this
Yeah, this
over
is
the
a
next
one-year
year.
contract with an option for a subsequent
And
year.
if it's supposed to be done in March, probably should take it up this time and then maybe review it in a year.
Mhm. Oh, that's what you would be doing.
We had a question in the back of the room.
Good evening. Good night, Paul. Scott Arnold, Bucksport. Right in the paperwork, it explains my concern. His price is going up because your salt's rotting our equipment out. I spent thousands of dollars on my truck last year, and it's rusty again this year. It's killing me. I'm going to start looking at a reduction in my registration cost or something, because my truck is ultimately getting eaten up by the stuff we're using on our roads. And if that's the case, what is it doing to our wells, our water piping in the ground, our drainage piping in the... It's got to have adverse effects. I think it is bad for the asphalt.
Are you talking about the about the salt?
Everything.
If
It's not allowing the road to freeze up hard. It's keeping it soft, and that's why our asphalt's going to pop. It's terrible.
Well, what about the fact, I'm concerned about, obviously, on other state roads, it's salt mandated.
Obviously, we have no control over that. And, that'll be my fight next, Dave. It's killing our vehicles, and they're costing us $500 a month, $700 a month.
My thought
And
is...
where's our kickback?
Right, even though we're, doing that for the state, I'm not sure we wouldn't be under that same mandate.
On the roads that are state, I would see that you would be. But I really feel that if we switch back to a salt and sand mixture, we're going to reduce our man hours. We're going to reduce our equipment cost. We're going to reduce our accidents in town. We're going to have traction on our roads because the sand will be on the surfaces. Once the sand's on the surface, I understand. Everybody wants to drive on a clean, clear road. Yeah, yippee-ki-yay. Well, guess what? We live in Maine. People out in, Wyoming and areas like that, they don't even use this stuff. They just use ash and sand. And they drive on the frozen snow. And, to me, I just keep seeing my hard-earned money getting rotted away by the stuff we're using on our roads. Plus, I'm looking at the condition of our asphalt that we just recently asphalted stuff, and it is crumbling apart. There's got to be something to do with what we're doing now on the road surface.
Well, I hear your concern, but I don't see our citizenry wanting to drive on snow-packed roads.
We did it for years, Dave.
I know we did.
We did it for years.
But I think...
And we had more
would get a lot,
traction.
it's my judgment that we would get a lot more complaints if that happened than what we're getting now.
But we still have more traction. I remember growing up as a kid.
If there are other people out there that have these same concerns about the road, I suggest that they come in and talk to us about it too at these meetings.
I'm
because
going to actually
I've certainly heard you, but I want you to consider that I don't see the citizens responding very quickly to driving on
and that's a great point,
snow-packed
Dave.
roads.
That's a great point. I'm gonna put a petition together and try to get some signatures, because I really think that growing up, my father taught me driving that when you were coming down one of these hills, if you were skidding down into the main road, go for the edge. That's where the sand is. And you'd come to a stop.
I would hate to tell the citizen that's the solution.
I agree.
I don't think
I agree.
the council very long.
Yeah, no, but, I think if they start realizing what kind of money they're putting into their vehicles and seeing it just go down the drain.
Okay.
So that was my point, and I see Bo's problem, because I work on my own gear, and yeah, it's so disheartening, all the money I spent last year on my own truck, and to climb under it this year and go, oh my God, look at all the rust. I solved this last year, I thought, and it's back.
Any other comments?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just want to know why is the town of Bucksport plowing a state highway? Why are we doing that? What was the reason that this happened? Does anybody know why we're doing it?
I know Central Street is the same thing, is a state road. And I don't know if that's part of the funds that the state gives us to maintain those.
Do we do Route 15?
We do the compact area, we do Central Street, and we do Route 46. That is part of the state roads most communities plow a portion of state roads that are within their centralized area, and some of the local road assistance money that the town gets is an offset to that, but not a lot. The state has turned back some maintenance responsibilities to towns. I was not here when the whatever agreement or whatever designation was made on those roads, but I know that the compact area is the responsibility of the community, and that's in law. And the fact that Central Street and Route 46 are also added into that mix, I'm not sure when that occurred, but it's been that way for some
Okay,
time.
well, what constitutes the compact area that we are responsible for?
The compact area, it's from like over beyond McDonald's, that way over to the other end. Beyond, I can't remember all the exact determination, but it's the internal area of your community, sort of the. They
So
call
not,
it
not as far as the transfer station.
They call it the designated compact area. I can show you the description of
Well,
how they do
Route
that.
46
Is well
connects-
outside that.
It goes out
connects
to,
Route 1 with
we do all of
Route 9.
Central Street.
I mean, it's like a major connector for those.
Yes.
I mean, you stand out there for a few minutes and the trucks going by will knock the hat off your head because they're one right behind the other. And it's our responsibility to take care of 10 miles. Is that what you said? 10 miles of
Yes.
road?
That's what the Public Works Director told me. The route was 10 miles.
Is that something we can look into? Just to get a little
I'm going to,
history?
and that's a great point, Mr. Morrison. I'm going to check on when the town took over that and under what the circumstances were that the town assumed Route 46.
Yeah, and what portion of Route 15 is actually compacted that they have left us with the responsibility for, you know?
Well, the compact area is defined by street, and that's in statute, and I can point to that. Route 46 is outside that purview, and I'll have to look up and see why the town, or how the town, when the town was designated with that as well.
And
Yeah.
we'll put that on the agenda. It's been well over 20 years, I know that.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody's pocket got lined.
All right, any other comments before we take action on this? Okay, we're going to get down to the agenda items, and the first one being action on the Route 46 plow contract. How would the council like to proceed?
I'd make a motion to accept the one-year contract and obviously review next year.
Second. You second that, David? Okay, we have a motion and seconded to approve the one-year contract for plowing of Route 46. Any further comments from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 4-1.
I would just add that I agree with what Councilman Key said. If there are other people, you know, as was mentioned, if there are people out there, we need to hear the concerns, more concerns about whether the salt sand mix or the salt only or what have you. What do the townspeople want? And you know, we can consider that as we go into the next years. We've got to hear the voices.
Okay, we're going to go back up under item 8, discussion items, and we're going to go to number or B, which is comprehensive plan committee presentation.
Got me sleeping there. Hi, I'm Jeff Fitzgerald. I'm the chairman of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. I want to thank the council and thank you, Sue, for having us to be able to share what we've been working on. The council's been working hard for about 13 or 14 months since the process started to roll again. So we have a presentation tonight on the Phase 1 inventory and analysis. You may have read that we're talking about goals tonight. That's not correct. That'd be our next phase. So this is the inventory analysis is looking at where the town has been since the last plan and where we're at now to kind of set the stage for coming up with goals and objectives, which is the next phase. So a little recent history. The last comprehensive plan was completed in 2003. Didn't hire a consultant until 2013, which probably was a little late, and now we're even later because of circumstances that you all are aware of. The town council appointed a 16-member committee that meets monthly. Bucksport Next, as you see the logo there, is a continuing effort to plan Bucksport, and you'll probably hear more about that in the coming months as to how that's evolving into an umbrella organization to help with coordinating the plan as implementation goes forward. The committee meets each month, second Monday at 5 p.m. in the Jewett School, and the public is invited. We'd be happy to have any of you come and share. Outreach is coordinated through extra monthly meetings, and if you don't get anything else, get this. All the information is on the website, the town website, bucksportmaine.gov. There's also a Facebook page that you can link to from that. And eventually, Bucksport Next will have its own website that will be linked from the town website, I presume. So you may have heard the phrase "a view from 30,000 feet." Sometimes it's kind of overused, but it is well used for a comprehensive plan where we're looking at the whole town from a distance, looking at the big picture, and not really getting into all the detail. If we did, we'd never be able to put it all in one document. And tonight we're looking at just the highlights of the big picture. So even though we have a lot to go through, there's much more on the plan, and you can see that on the website. Or if anybody would like a hard copy of any of the chapters, you could come to the town office, and we could arrange to get you one. We don't have them on the counter because they just keep changing the drafts. So it's nice to have the electronic versions that we can change everybody's version quickly. So Chapter 1, Population and Demographics. You see there's 8 pages. We've whittled it down to just a few bullet points here. You all know that we're almost to 5,000 people in the 2010 census. Bucksport average age is rising. That's a function of fewer births compared to deaths, and as well as the in-migration of perhaps older folks. According to the U.S. Census and studying the demographics of the town, it's projected that Bucksport could lose a quarter of its population by 2030. That's just looking at the raw numbers without any. Of course, we know there are many things that can change that, and probably will.
Now that was in the 2010 census.
Well, looking at the 2010 census was the last census there was, so you kind of projecting on looking at the ages of people. People are moving out of childbearing age, and so there's not unless there is in-migration, the tendency would be to lose that much population.
That projection was made prior to the mill closing. That's my question.
That is correct.
So when people say, "Oh, people were losing population because the mill closed," that would be incorrect, wouldn't it?
Well, it wouldn't be incorrect necessarily, but it would be another factor that came after this.
Yes.
It could be worse if you wanted to look at it that way. But as we discussed it in the committee, it's certainly a negative. When you look at losing the biggest employer by far in your community, all those jobs and all the money that comes in through it.
That's not a plus, right?
Excuse me?
That's not a plus.
Not a plus, but some people look at the subtraction as a plus, and somehow the town image may draw in some different people. So, maybe it balances out. Bucksport median income is lower than its neighbors. Just another thing to learn in the census. The mill closure effects have yet to be fully measured. So if you look at the plan, that symbol on the left I've used just to kind of draw attention to the things in the plan that refer directly to it. If you wanted to read through the plan and say, well, what are the mill effects? At least you could find them without having to read the whole thing. Some historical photos, yes, the mill closed, but on the right, if you can read the sign, it says Bucksport Strong. So people still have hope, and they're trying to rebuild the community. So Chapter 2, Economy. Again, very much affected by the mill closure. Lots of jobs lost. Also, the multiplier effect that they like to use when you're adding jobs and saying, but when you're subtracting jobs, you don't like to think about it. But it's actually a bigger hit to the economy than just the jobs lost. And I think our other businesses are feeling that. We've seen some related businesses, for instance, industrial packing is another one that left town, very much related to the mill. The Maine Department of Labor is tracking the former mill workers and helping them get back into the labor force. The town hired a new economic development director, Welcome Rich, and many improvements were done since the last plan to boost the economic development of the town, and infrastructure, waterfront improvements, Heritage Park, a lot of things in there, parking, things like that we can see in the plan. So, Chapter 3, housing. The town's been very active getting community development block grant funds to help individuals with their houses and even multi-units. Another big change in the past 10 years was the Maine Uniform Building and Energy Code was adopted. It may make it a little more expensive to build a house, but you have a house that will, I am understanding those improvements will pay for themselves. So it's not a bad thing, but it's just one more thing that people are faced with. Bank foreclosures average about one property per month. That's been steady since I've been the tax assessor, and the hope is that it will get better, but there's still a lot of that clearing from our economic woes nationally. And then the housing market may change with the town's image. That's what I was talking about before. If we get a different kind of a development down the street, you may find that there are different kinds of people that want to move into town. Okay. And if anybody has a question, a pressing question you want to ask as we go along, go ahead and do it. If we get too many questions, we'll never get through this. We've got a lot of slides. So, transportation is Chapter 4. As we heard from Jeff McGlynn, harbor and rail are very valuable for the mill site development. A multimodal facility has been suggested down there. Town roads maintenance is top-notch, and we hear that from other towns that they like driving in Bucksport better than their own towns. That's what I hear anyway. So thankful for that. Plans for road improvements are still being developed. For instance, the Broadway connection to Park Street, still working on that. And alternative modes in public transit are being expanded. It's nice to have some public transportation for people that need it. Bicycle routes, I noticed there's some new signs going out Central Street. If you notice that the East Coast Greenway apparently runs right through Bucksport, and we're going to study a little bit more about that. And hopefully the railroad will continue to serve the mill site area, and hopefully they'll have some good customers down there. Right, public facilities and services. So this is 27 page, the biggest chapter by far, and probably the chapter that the council is the most interested in that there's many things in it that are related to what the council governs. So one key finding is the town RSU infrastructure and agency programs adjusting to new economic reality and meeting local needs. And that's something we've been working on since the mill closure, and we'll probably continue to work on it. So I've broken down this chapter into other slides so we can carry on. So town government has hired a community and economic development director to help move forward. So it's a little different job description for Rich. Broadening that out to realize we got to think not just about the economy, but about how the whole town works together. The new town manager also does the work of the former finance director. And could probably add in there some other things. I've heard that people have said we haven't done anything to adjust the town budget. Well, we have. So that's one example. We also have a part-time recreation department director, and there may be some other areas that have been adjusted. Probably it's something good for the town people to hear that we're working on that. So departments and budgets are being reworked to better fit current tasks. Okay, Chapter 5, emergency services. A lot going on there too. Another thing that's a mill-related thing is the local hazmat team is gone. I guess there's one in Orono that we have to call on now. Use of regional dispatch has been considered, and even we may reconsider the idea of building a substation in Millvale for firefighting to help homeowners with insurance costs. These are things I think that have been looked at before and maybe looked at again. Possible changes to ambulance service have been mulled as well. So, educational services, the middle school, the newest school in town, was built in 2003. RSU 25 was formed in 2009, a big change in the way the schools are governed. And so the town still has a role, but it may be a little bit more disconnected, so we have to work harder at that, at keeping that connection. Buck Memorial Library is being rehabbed, and RSU works with health initiatives, which is the next slide, also in here. So there's a lot about health and social services here. I'll just read through it quickly. Health improvement.
Jeff,
excuse me?
I think it can be noted too that, as I recall from Superintendent Boothby's presentation a meeting or so ago, that the model for keeping kids in school and getting the graduation rate up has received national fame.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Boothby is asked to speak in different places in the state and a few in different places in the country to see how they did it. Went from a little over 70%, 76%, I think, to almost 90%.
Wow, that's a big jump.
Big change in a few years. Yeah.
Yep. The school system is very important in those challenges we talked about keeping population. People are attracted to communities with good schools.
As we always say, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
Yeah, there you go. So the health improvements plan lists cardiovascular health as a top priority. Bucksport Regional Health Center and Blue Hill Memorial Hospital collaborate to strengthen local primary care and specialty services. So that's the one on Main Street and the one up on Broadway. They work together. That's nice. Network of services available to support the needs of older adults, including Gardner Commons, Jed Prouty, RSU 25 Senior Meal Program, Bucksport Senior Center, Community Action Resource Exchange, Bucksport Community Concerns, and the Thriving in Place program. So it's really great to have a health coordinator that makes all these things work together more efficiently. There's a pre-K program established through collaboration between RSU 25 and the Child and Family Opportunities. A plan for early care and education services has been established. So Public Works, again, more improvements in infrastructure, 600,000 gallon concrete storage tank on Silver Lake Road. Natural gas lines have been extended in the compact area. The Swirl Concentrator Vortex at Perry's Landing came online in 2008. A secondary wastewater treatment plant is being built right now. So recreation and cultural resources. Since the last plan, the 600-seat cultural arts facility was built. The waterfront walkway trails and park were expanded. The recreation department offerings expanded with a youth coordinator. Meals program began at the new senior center. Arts Festival and Wednesdays on Main debuted in 2015. And it's pretty amazing to see all these things that have been done in the last 10 to 13 years. The Bucksport has really moved ahead on a lot of things, and it gives us ideas of how we use the comprehensive plan in the community to help keep things moving forward. So marine resources, many upgrades to the public waterfront were made, more harbor improvements have been outlined, and I guess there's a meeting coming up to talk about more of that in June. The town acquired the marina to enhance services, and river water quality has improved but has higher goals. So in water resources, it's good to hear from Jeff Moulin on this as well. The mill used to use 18 million gallons of fresh water every day, which Silver Lake cannot produce. So that was what our concern was. It could be overtaxed if that amount of water was drawn out of Silver Lake without it being replaced through the Alamoosic pipeline. So good to hear reassurance that they are keeping that system in place so that capacity is maintained in case it's needed in the future.
Is it that much water that was used, David, or is it 12 million? I always heard 12. Is it 18 million they were using?
They at times use that much. Normally it was in the 16 million range.
Okay.
That's a lot of water.
Mhm.
And there's much more than that, too, that comes out of the river and goes back into the river, I guess.
Yes,
In fact,
yes.
It was like 75 million
That's
gallons.
72 million a day.
Yeah. So,
When the steam turbines were running.
yeah.
They're not using that anymore.
So, Maine Water agreed to do more testing of the Silver Lake source water in case there was more stress on the lake. Maybe we needed to test it more often. Steps have begun toward forming a lake association. Keep an eye on those things. And the swimming ban in Silver Lake may be reconsidered. Let's see. So natural resources. Beginning with Habitat has mapped Bucksport's natural areas. If you go on our website, they're all there. They're really beautiful, big, large maps that show you where some of these things are if you're interested. Bucksport has rare and protected species and habitats. A couple of things here are pictured. Great Pond Mountain Conservation Trust has 2 properties in Bucksport and conserves regional natural resources. They're working on one on the Upper Long Pond Road, making it more accessible to the public. A beautiful spot out there. Bucksport has scenic views that could be protected. Agriculture and forest resources. Farming is not a major land use in Bucksport, with about 6% of the land area devoted to cultivation and pasture. About 80% of the town is in woodland, 23% of that is in tree growth, which is commercial management. There's local interest in establishing a food hub, so we may be hearing more about that. I guess the idea there is to try to encourage producers and distributors as well as consumers and get a more efficient use of local produce. Chapter 11, historic and archaeological resources. Again, this is something is nice to be on the comprehensive plan committee and learning about these things. There's so much about our town that's very interesting, and this is an aspect that is really really fascinating to me. We have 9 properties on the National Register of Historic Places, 3 prehistoric sites along the Penobscot River, 6 archaeological sites for the Maine Historic Preservation, 34 locally significant historic properties, which are eligible to be nationally registered. Town land use standards protect key historic sites, and historic preservation efforts are ongoing. You're all familiar with Wilson Hall and now the Yellow Schoolhouse, and a lot of the properties are being taken care of by private owners, and it's just good to see people remembering and caring about them. It's another aspect of the community that people value and like to live in a place that has some history. Okay, existing land use, Chapter 12. Recent ordinance changes make for easier applications. New digital flood maps improve administration. Those are just now been made official. If you want to see the new flood maps, and they're so much better than the old ones. We also have some of the base data that could help with people to make some preliminary plans and things. Have 2-foot contours for most of the town that would called LiDAR data. That is good data that was a product of that process that now the town can use. Developers choose rural subdivisions over growth areas, and that's a commentary on a lot of what the comprehensive plan tries to do in their future land use plan, which was done in 2003, is try to direct growth more to growth areas and not so much in the rural. But we find that people like to live in the country, and so a lot of the growth that happens is there. Plus, there's a lot more room for growth out there. So I don't know if we're ever going to change that. Relaxing shoreline zoning may help downtown growth, but something we're going to focus on when we create our new future land use plan. And the Millside area zoning should be reviewed. We just want to make sure that our current rules do not inhibit them from making the best use of the site that's there. And we're not looking for, as far as we're thinking on it now, we're just getting into that. Is not anything drastic as far as the change, but just to see if something might need to be tweaked to make room for proposals that are coming down the pipe. So.
Do we have much flexibility in shoreline zoning, or is it DEP that we...
Well, of course, shoreline zoning is a state program, and they have a model that you're supposed to follow. In areas like the downtown of Bucksport, since it is all grandfathered, it's all stuff that's been there since way before shoreline zoning was put in effect, they do give some leeway on that. I guess we're already beyond, we're already less restrictive than the state model, and there are some areas where we might be able to allow a little bit more, like changing from one use back to another is where some people get hung up, and there's various things that could be looked at, and it's just something that, you know, we don't want the growth of the downtown to be hampered by that if it's all possible.
No, I think it's good if we have more flexibility.
I think that one of the advantages we have is the downtown is all on public sewer and public water. A lot of the things that inhibit growth are those things. So I think that will allow the state to understand. You just kind of have to make a case for why we would want it different. So, fiscal capacity and capital investment plan. So before the closure, Versa represented 45% of the total property tax, and I didn't write it here, but now it's 17% of the new total, which is lower. So sudden and severe helped recover about half of the revenue loss. So that's where we saw the school budget dropping quite a bit. Was because of the extra funding that went to the schools. Redevelopment should begin to rebuild the town's tax base. The capital improvements program is being reorganized, and the ad hoc committee studied options for adjusting the budget. So we have some of those, and we'll probably be looking at those again as we get on to the next phase 2, which is goals and objectives. So we take what we've learned about, you know, where we've been and where we are right now, and try to come up with goals to put us into the future where we want to be. So we're still meeting, as I mentioned before, at the second Monday of the month at the Jewett School at 5 o'clock, and you're welcome to join us. There's one more slide. So this is just a little taste of the next phase, so the draft vision statement, which is based on the vision statement that was done in 2003 with some language added that basically says we want Bucksport to be kind of what it is now, but better. And we'll be fleshing that out with goals and objectives that kind of follow along the chapters we looked at. So does anybody have any more questions?
When do you roughly anticipate completion?
Well, our consultant, Tom Martin, says the goals and objectives usually takes about 4 meetings. We've already had 1. I think in our circumstances it may take longer than that. You know, we're really at a watershed time, and we don't want to just kind of get through it quickly. But it'd be nice to have it done this fall. I think we can do that. So,
well, I wanted to sincerely thank the committee, because I can only imagine how grinding this whole process is.
Yeah.
So thank you for your and the committee for all your work.
A couple comments. I think many of us, I read through all the chapters online, and you're right, one chapter is 27 pages, which, and there's a ton of work in there, all kinds of narratives and data and all of that stuff. My thought after reading all the chapters, and I'm going to do my best to start showing up at more meetings. Thank you for inviting me. I'd like to see a little more positive, upbeat information included in these chapters. One of the things that does jump off the page to me right now is I'm sick and tired of seeing a picture of the mill with a big red X in it. Okay, the mill has closed. There's no going back. But you know, your vision statement at the end to me is generic. I think that's a great place to put in there that we are in the post-mill era, that as we write this report, we're going through a deconstruction effort, largest one in the state of Maine, a redevelopment effort, largest in the state of Maine, and for emerging industries, process industries, the information that Jeff spoke about tonight is you know, the future, and it reflects in the name that you've chosen here. What I meant to say is it is the prime location on the entire east coast of the United States right now. I know I keep beating this drum over and over again, but it truly is. But you guys, men and women, came up with a wonderful name when you said Bucksport Next. And I think something like that describes it. Yes, the vision statement to me is generic. I think we have to acknowledge that, we're in a post-paper mill era. And every time I see red, in the private sector, we went through all these, how to build a PowerPoint, and how many bullet points to put in, and what colors to use and not use. And for God's sakes, get rid of as much red as you can, because it
I didn't have
out
that
anger
class,
people.
sorry.
Okay, so if you put a
I like
preamble
red.
in the beginning instead of writing that thing about the mill is closed, the big red X and all that. Now, back to positive information, and I'll go through this real quick. Chapter 1, population. We talk about the mill closing again, but to move over to start calling it a post-mill era. Chapter 2, the economy. We mentioned that 570 plus mill jobs were lost, but it was either in one of the papers or somebody presented here not too many weeks ago that 86% of the people that lost jobs are now either reemployed, have found jobs, have retrained, or about to graduate with associate's degree. So I think it's important to put in there that, we talk about Bucksport Strong, maybe as the lead-in, but in fact, they're doing that. There's 86% of the people found new things. Chapter 3, the housing. I strongly believe that housing is going to rebuild in this town on 3 positive issues. Bring in jobs, jobs will bring people. The school system, top shelf, as Mr. Key mentioned before. Also under Chapter 5 is education, but Jim Boothby came in here, and he told us that it's a nationally recognized program. I forget the exact 4-letter acronym, but it was BAR or something like that. Yes, BAR. That the graduation rate had increased from 79% to 91%, and that they also, seniors graduating from high school can have 28 credits towards the University of Maine. That's almost a full year's worth of credits that they can graduate with. So the school system is really top-notch. So we've got jobs, housing, and then the environment, which you've covered, everything from trails to whether you want to live downtown or out in the suburbs. But to me, those are the 3 things that are going to build jobs. I'm almost done here, trust me. Health services. The Bucksport Regional Center, the Bucksport Bay Healthy Community. Bucksport Regional Health Center has been nationally recognized, even by President Obama in one of his conversations. They just received a $1.8 million grant. I think that speaks well to, in addition to what Mary Jane Bush has written in recent emails. Chapter 6, you mentioned the recreation area. Well, I sat in, just by coincidence, a night or 2 ago on the Recreation Committee, and they currently have 26 programs going on. They either control or are involved with. It's that kind of you get the idea where I'm coming from, to get some of this positive stuff into the comprehensive plan. Land use. This thing here about shoreland zoning. Well, we have ordinances, but we also are working in collaboration with the DEP and the Wildlands and Fisheries group. So I'd like to try and get that. And then the last thing I have is, and I wrote you about today, is, again, I'm very much in favor, and we just had a presentation this week here in the office by Fairpoint, about getting this digital backbone and infrastructure in place. Again, emerging businesses, process industries, down here at the MMA, looking like they're coming here more and more. It's going to be critical to getting that digital infrastructure. It's a lot of culture change going on here. I don't think 5 years from now the town of Bucksport is going to look anything like it does today. I don't think that under arts we should, one of the keystone buildings that's now being redone is the Lighthouse Art Center, things like that. Talk about, maybe try and interject that is, we talk about the art festival, and now it's moved over to, excuse my way of putting it, but a gaggle of artists, and it's no longer be just a festival, but there will be artists coming to there's so much change. Anyway, I'm done selling. Thank you for listening, but those are some of my thoughts I had. I did honestly read through all of those chapters, and that's what jumped off the page at me. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item C, Maine Municipal Association Legislative Policy Committee, request for nominations.
This item was on your agenda last time for everyone to look at and think about and decide if there's any of you who wish to be nominated or anyone you wish to nominate for this position with the Municipal Association. It's an election, so you would nominate somebody, their name gets submitted, and then the ballots are presented. So,
That's something you'd be interested in?
oh,
think
I've served on it before, and I
Yeah.
think your former managers generally have.
Right, yeah. I think Roger is sort of on it.
But it's an opportunity to be aware of any legislation that's being considered at the state level that impacts communities in one way or another without chasing it.
I'd like to nominate you if you have any interest at all. I know you've got quite a
I'm-
full plate.
Well, would be happy to serve if I'd be happy to submit my name. Who says I'd get elected, but if there are no objections, I would.
Consider it done.
Okay.
You want to take a motion? You have the motion?
I think
or
it's
just-
a great idea. It served us well
Yeah.
before getting, I don't think I have any of the new qualifications.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hood.
Okay, item D, Spirit of America Volunteer Recognition Program.
We received an email from Bruce Flaherty, who has asked if the town wishes to participate in something called the Spirit of America Awards. And he cites that Georgetown, Oakland, Pittston, Pittsfield, Randolph, Rome, Searsport, et cetera, have nominated a citizen to receive this award. And the purpose of this being on here is to find out if you want to undergo a selection process and nominate someone to receive this award from the town of Bucksport.
Is there a date that we have to submit a name or names?
Before June 30th.
Council want to think about this and possibly at the next meeting bring back any recommendations? Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going on to item 10, resignations, appointments, and assignments and elections. I don't believe we have any?
Oh, yes.
Oh, we do?
We have an election coming.
We do?
Yes. And we have to sign the warrants for the RSU. They just passed the budget last night.
Right.
To send it to the voters, so we have to sign all these warrants. Which one of them?
That vote is on June 14th, is that right?
June 14th.
Yeah.
And that's the public vote on the approving the school budget?
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes, we did.
And that'll be held at the Jewish school as it usually is?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Open at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Anything else, Kathy? Okay, if not, we'll go on to, while we're passing this around to be signed, we'll go on to item 11, approval of quitclaim deeds discharges. And you want to table this?
There are current issues with this property, and there's still some outstanding taxes owed on it. I'd like to put this on hold until we've resolved the remainder of the concerns in regard to the property and the payment of the final taxes.
Do we
It-
have to take action, or,
We will take action at another time, if you
okay,
just,
we don't have to take a vote to put it on hold? Okay. We're going to put that on hold, right? All right. Item 12, Town Manager's Report.
I'm very pleased to report that tonight, the town of Bucksport is now video streaming cable channel 7 on the internet, so that anyone with internet access can view the channel, our cable channel. We're in the process of also making it possible for people to view prior council meetings through, the site is called townhallstreams.com. And if you go to that site, there's a drop-down list of communities. You click on Bucksport, and when you go there, if you click on either the bulletin board if no meetings are showing, or the current meeting, you see in real time the same thing that's appearing on cable channel 7. And this has been a goal since I came here 8 or 9 months ago, and we're there. And we will be further there when we get more things up and running. We're currently in a free trial period between now and the end of June. You can get it on any you can get it on your phone, you can get it on laptop, any internet connected device. And we will be putting that on the front page of our website, our Facebook page, etc., to promote it. And I want to thank Chris Grindle for doing the legwork to get this finally up and running. As I said, there are some people, I think, actually watching us tonight that are not watching cable TV in order to get us. So now the concern that only people in the Time Warner Cable area can see what happens in council meetings is no longer true. You can see this. If you've got an internet connection, you can see this anywhere in the world that you are. So there you go. And the cost long-term is $200 a month for this service. So for $2,400 a year, we've now expanded access to all of the meetings that occur for anyone to see. So I'm very proud of that. The hanging flowers and flags are in the process of everything going up on Main Street. The planters have all been filled for the season, and they look beautiful. I want to thank everyone who's helped with that project. And I specifically want to thank the town office staff members for spending time after work on Monday night to plant the flowers and the planters around town. I'm very pleased to notify you that the Heart and Soul program has received a $10,000 grant from the Maine Community Foundation for the 2016 year. The program also received a $15,000 grant from the foundation in 2015. I want to thank the Community Foundation for recognizing and supporting the important work that Heart and Soul is doing, and to the Heart and Soul group for their work in seeking outside funding to assist in the ongoing costs of this program. I'm also pleased to notify you that the Main Street group, who is working on downtown business issues, also received a grant from the Maine Community Foundation in the amount of $4,500 to support their work for the 2016 year. In all, there were 4 entities from Bucksport that received funding through the Maine Community Foundation this year, which says great things about the community and how people from the outside see what Bucksport and its people are doing to move into the future. The police department has received a safety enhancement grant from the Maine Municipal Association in the amount of $1,560 for vehicle safety prisoner containment. The grant pays for 2/3 of the cost of the equipment. The balance is taken from our current operating budget. This department has been exceptional over time in obtaining equipment through grant funding of major portions of the overall expense. I would remind everyone there is a meeting on June 2nd here at 5 p.m. to discuss the future of the waterfront in Bucksport. This discussion includes all aspects of the waterfront, including but not limited to the marina, the town docks, and associated other waterfront uses. The more the merrier. We really need input on what people see the role of Bucksport's waterfront is moving into the future. The Council has received an invitation to class night on June 8th at 6 p.m. and an invitation to commencement on June 10th at 6 p.m. I have a copy of the invitation here. I'd like to notify the council that we'll be closing early on June 30th at noon. That's fiscal year end. We will be closing in order to allow staff sufficient time to do all the various things that need to happen in order to be set up and moving into the next fiscal year, the 8 o'clock the next morning. And that's under meetings. That's it.
Okay, item 13, set public hearings and/or hold public hearings and approval of any licenses or permits. I think we've got a couple of them tonight. Okay. We don't have any public hearings to schedule or?
No.
Okay, so we're going to start with the approval of the licenses permit. First one being miscellaneous licenses for the Bucksport Bay Area Chamber of Commerce for the Bucksport Bay Festival. How would the council like to proceed?
Move we accept.
Second.
We have motion and second to approve the miscellaneous license for Bucksport Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. Anything from the public on this? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Victura's licenses for Jessica Carter, doing business for Local Variety and Bake Shop. How would the council like to proceed?
Mr. Mayor, due to the fact that all of these have been checked out by the police chief and the fire chief, I know we have to take them individually, but I move we accept Jessica Carter's application. Approved.
I was going to say, I don't have a problem if you want to look at
Could we
them all
do-
and just make one big motion and approval. It's fine with me.
We can.
Whoa, what an idea that is.
I second it.
Because there's 15 of them.
Want to look down through here to see if there's any questions on any of them? And if
I just, Water Rule 2 is what?
That is in the Heritage Park. That's the call.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Crab shop.
Sounded like a movie or something.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to just list them, just to let folks know what we're approving, Mr. Mayor.
Just read them.
Would you like to just read the list so
Yeah,
people know what
okay.
we are approving?
I got a question on the Duck Trap Maple, or Duck Trap Valley Maple Farm.
Yeah, they're going to be attending the farmers market, but also they were involved in the store frontage during the Christmas holiday time. So they want to be included in that, and they had to get a license to do that. So
Okay.
they want to be prepared.
Okay, we have Jessica Carter doing business for Local Variety and Bake Shop. Lori Seekins doing business as Water World 2. Catherine Patterson, Kathy Patterson Home Bakery. Jennifer Pappas as Crosby's Drive-In. Larry Walls as Walls Dairy Mart. Edmund Wood as Wood Seafood. Max Convenience Stores, Circle K. George McLeod, McLeod's Restaurant. Robert Hogan, Hogan's of Maine. It's McDonald's. Dale Tozier, Tozier's Variety. Ledbro LLC, Harborview Grill, Hannaford Supermarkets, Richard Silsby, Lenfest is Duck Trap Valley Maple Farm, Lucino Lima, doing business Dunkin' Donuts, and Wayne Hand at Bucksport Golf Club. How would the council like to proceed?
Move we approve the application.
Second. Any comments from the public on any of these? Anything further from the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item 14 is discussion items not on the agenda for the council or public. We'll start with the public. Does the public have any discussion items they'd like to bring up tonight? Yes, sir.
Yes, you're streaming the town meetings tonight. How about the committee meetings? Any thoughts to streaming them also?
What?
The committee meeting.
The committee
Committee meetings. The town has the ability to stream anything that happens in this room. So if the for example, the June 2nd meeting, that's committee, that meeting, maybe that's going to be a pretty large meeting, a lot of discussion. That one may, I think the council has generally held other committee meetings in the committee room upstairs. We don't have the ability to stream that from here, but anything that is held here that they choose to can be aired, because this is the room in which the cameras are.
Any thought of doing it in the future so that some of them people that can't get out can see?
Is there any change to the cost? It's two, whether we use it 5 times,
24/7. We can. It's on when it. The way you program it is by session, but what we're doing is just programming it so that the whole day is a program. You know, so that it just will run concurrently. There's a slight time lag between what's actually happening and what you're seeing. It's not because anyone's editing. It's just how fast the mouse has to run through to get to where it's actually going out of. That's my technical explanation, but it is.
There's a latency period.
There you go.
You know, I think we have a portable camera. Maybe we can ask our IT people.
We could film them, and then they could be shown. They could be aired. Yeah.
Yeah, I could say there's some people that would like to see them.
Okay. All right, we'll look into that. Any other discussion items from the public? Yes, sir.
John Paul Lalonde. Just wanted to follow up on Sue's comments about Maine Community Foundation grants. She's absolutely right that the community looked very favorably on Bucksport because of all the work that the citizens are doing, the support that the town council and the town gives to various programs. It's very competitive grant process. Probably only half of the grant applicants received an award, and so I think town of Bucksport ought to be real proud for the work they're doing, and as Sue said, it shows the committee that reviews that is widespread all throughout Hancock County, and as you know, Hancock County is a pretty big geographic county, so it covers quite a big area, and representation on it is pretty evenly spread throughout the whole county, and everybody is very supportive of what is going on in Bucksport, so we ought to be proud of that.
Thank you. Mr. Morrison, did you want to?
Yeah, I went to the school committee meeting last night, and they were voting on what they were going to do for each article. Prior to going there, I thought I was going to get a chance to say something, but I kind of looked around the room and I was like on a 40-to-1 basis, so didn't have much to say last night. But I looked up some statistics, and under the heading of the best schools in Maine, the one that I did find was Miles Lane School. It's rated 272 out of 291 schools. Bucksport High School is rated 35th out of 118. We have a college readiness of 6.8. By comparison, there are many schools around us that are just phenomenally above that. Under the Great Schools rating, which is something that is for people who are thinking about bringing their family to a new location, Bucksport Schools rate number 4. 1 to 3 is considered below average, 4 to 7 is average, and 8 to 10 is above average. The Maine Department of Education grades our schools at a C, all 3 of them. I just wanted to put that out there because everybody's been saying how great our schools are and how great everybody thinks they are. This is what you find when you get online.
Was there some reason you didn't bring that? I heard what you said. I gather it was primarily, the meeting was primarily attended by administrators and teachers. Is that why you didn't think it was worthwhile to bring this to their attention? Well, that might be best. Keep you out of trouble.
Thank you, Jim. I think that's, it's good information. and I think I don't think I heard anybody say we're doing great. I think in one area, we pointed out that we've improved 70% to 90%, the dropout rate, I think it was.
Mhm.
We have a long way to go, obviously, in all areas, but I think when we talk about schools, and I've been through this because I was on the school committee, it's the system, and that includes parents, kids, schools, and I think when we compare ourselves to other towns, we have to look at those other towns, and are those kids getting the same backing in the schools as our kids are getting? Are they being forced to do their homework as our kids are doing? Are their standards the same? We have a long way to go, but I think if your message is our schools aren't doing well, I don't think that's the right message. It's not the complete picture. I think we have a long way to go as individuals, as parents, to compare with Cape Elizabeth, with Bangor, with Brewer, with all those schools that may be rated higher. I think it's not just schools. I think it's system wide. I don't know if that's what you were getting at, but
The Bucksport RSU 25 asked for over $14 million this year. I note that they asked for over $13 million last year. I inadvertently wrote on my blog $1 million increase for what? And I was written back to by somebody on the committee, I suppose, that it was only $210,000. Referring to $210,000 with the word only in the same sentence, that don't wash with me. That's a lot of money. But the fact is that if I want to get a raise from my boss, I would have to perform a little bit better to get a raise.
But you, I would say, I would agree with you. I would agree with you. But you have the ability. You have the ability. Let me just finish my thought. You have the ability to do better. The teachers can't force the kids to do their homework. So that's what I'm saying. It's a system. It's not just the education part of it. It's the parents and the kids in this town and around the community that need to do their job too. So when we look at that and we're just saying, you know, we put 13 million in, we're not getting our money's worth, I mean that's too simplistic. It's too complex a system just to say it's the money, we're spending too much money and we're not getting the results.
We had a teacher to student ratio in Bucksport High School of 11 to 1. When I went to high school, a small class was 30 people.
And not nearly as many kids when we were in school had the problems when they come to school as they do today. I guarantee you. Not nearly as many. And they didn't need to know what they need to know today to be successful. So they have to teach differently. So, I mean, I hear you. We're not there yet, but to just make a statement, you can't make a statement that it's just the money and it's the educator's side of it. There's a big gap missing on the other side as well. And I'm very passionate about it because I've worked it, I've lived it, and I hear the stories and know the preparation of the kids coming to school. And I'm just saying that it's the big picture. We need to work all of it.
And I agree. I do want to point out, though, as a working parent nowadays, we have to rely on our school to take care of our children at school. Do we have time to support our children and make sure they get their homework?
Well, you just made my point. Part of the problem is
should be done in school.
Part of the problem is it's turned into a social service. It's a social service. It wasn't a social service place when we were in school. The demands are much greater, and the cost is much greater because of that. I hear you.
Oh yeah, it's a huge issue that we all need to try to work around.
It's extreme, and the one thing that they noted was the fact that insurance premiums had gone up, so they had to raise that. And he stressed that when he was making his speech about what the thing was. Everybody's insurance premiums went up, you know.
School committee meetings are open to the public. You know, that would be an awful nice place to address it. I hear I have some concerns too, but you know, when the RSU was formed, the town council really has no control over the budget other than the fact that the public can vote on it. But we can go to their meetings and voice our opinion.
June 14th, 7 to 8.
Okay, any other discussion items from the public? From the council?
I just have
Go ahead.
a couple things. One, on June 21st, I'm going to facilitate a meeting, some of you are aware, trying to pull some of the groups together and get a sense of what each is doing. I've heard some questions and some concerns about, what is Bucksport next? What is the comprehensive, what is the Main Street group doing? What is Heart and Soul doing? Any number of other, I think there's a few others that were chiming in on email today. And so all I'm going to do is just be a facilitator and ask people to talk about their mission, their goals, and see if there are duplications, see if there are areas where we can work better together, or just clarify so everybody knows that, Main Street, Bucksport Next is doing this, Heart and Soul is doing that, and they all work well. They're all going in the same direction, and as efficient as possible. So everybody's welcome. It's open to the public. It's at the Heart and Soul Building, 5:30 on the 21st.
This will have to be posted as a public meeting in case there's more than 3 counselors in attendance, I believe, right? So we'll have to post that.
And the only other thing I have is just I was talking to a citizen yesterday about LED lighting. I know at my work we're changing as many lights around the parking lot and the branches and so forth as quickly and as cost effectively as we can with LED lights because there's a great payback, and we were able for a while to get efficiency main. Well, I guess they've shut that down to some extent, and there are certain lights, as I'm told, on the walkway, a certain type of light, the dark dark sky light. And one of the citizens suggested if we were going to go along the walkway and try to replace some of those, we might try something, adopt a light program, which I thought was kind of a neat idea, where maybe as we work our way and try to replace the LED lights with something new, maybe we do an adopt a light program where people can buy a plaque or buy into a light, just some way to offset the cost, and we can get the efficiency main rebate, I guess, with that type of light. They had some of the Brewer walkway that I saw the other night. So just something to think about. I don't know if it's supposed to start with you, Sue, or with Rich.
I got a quote on LED lighting for the walkway and had asked that they check on efficiency main rebates, but the type of lights that these are, that the retrofit would be, don't qualify because they're not but converting them to something else would be more costly, and then you might get the rebate, but the adopt a light, adopt a brick, there's, adopt a park, there's many communities have gone to looking to their residents to assist in that manner, but we can certainly look at what a different fixture would cost that would qualify. And but yes,
I think the
we
payback
have
on those
requested
is like 3 years or something like that.
On that, the fixture at Picnic Point, the former center of the known universe, that fixture would qualify. It's the only one different than all the other lights on the waterfront.
Yes, ma'am.
What would the cost be if someone were to buy one as a memorial for a person who passed away? What would the cost be? Do you have a figure for that yet?
God, last time when we were talking about replacing all of them, we were looking at the 28 to 35,000 or something like that. No,
it was like $9,000. It's around $9,000
for all of them.
For all of them.
All of them. In my last conversation, he says he believes the cost actually has gone down again.
Okay.
Adopt a light. I'm sorry, I used the wrong phrase. Not buy it.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many lights we got.
Well, I don't remember how many were on it, but it was a little over $9,000, including labor to do the.
Make you a deal.
That's a lot better than last time.
To do the whole.
And it might be, maybe it could be multiple people adopting a light with a little plaque or something like that.
Or maybe we could do it as adopt the lights and have one plaque with everybody's name on it in one location, as opposed to trying put a whole bunch of plaques on a whole bunch of. Let's do one and keep track of it.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to take 1 second to thank Jeff here, Fitzgerald, for the work he's done on the comprehensive plan. I've sat on that committee for over a year, participated where I could. A lot of people have worked really hard to just bring in as many sources, as much information as we can, and to chart paths into the future, given the shape-shifting target we had to work with here in Bucksport. I want to say I really appreciate Paul's enthusiasm for the future. We felt a little constrained about being real boosters for the town. We felt that it was our job to see what's there, inventory things, and keep all doors open to the future, and then keep our fingers crossed. But I think your advice is well taken, Paul. I think we'll put in a little more positive stuff there. But mostly I just wanted to thank Jeff. It's been a hard job for him because he's had information coming at him from all sides. And he and Tom Martin have done a really good job of filtering that, synthesizing it, putting it together in a report. So, thank you, Jeff. Okay.
Council have any discussion items? Yes, sir.
Just, you know, we're getting long in the tooth here tonight, but earlier this week, Rich, myself, and part-time Chris Grindle, Fairpoint, the fellow from Augusta, came in and we teleconferenced down to North Carolina with another propeller head down there to talk bits and bytes and all that. And we linked in and they did quite a presentation. They were able to Google map in and show us where they are. And this is just one of several vendors that will be coming in the near future that will talk about wireless technology to fiber optic and all kinds of things in between. Interesting thing about Fairpoint is, and I'll go through this very, very quickly, is they're currently located in 17 states, but 80% of what they do is in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And with about 1,100 employees in Maine, they have 17,000 fiber route miles in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, believe it or not. And in the town of Bucksport, we currently have 15 route miles of fiber here in town. They offer complete network and services. They will help us explore funding sources. They were part of what they call CAF2, that's Connect America Fund 2. $13 million was awarded to the state of Maine. They have comprehensive plans from very low speed to incredibly high speed for commercial and homeowners. They reported that the Central Street Fairpoint station has in fact been updated, and basically there are multiple rings here in town, and we are considered a next generation network. The key thing here too is when the technical fellow got on the phone, very simply stated, with the station over here out on Central Street, the further out you go, the slower the squirrels run. When you're 18 miles out of town, your communication rate is going to be very lower. It will deteriorate. That's the word I'm looking for. The many more miles you go out of town. So the routes we have in here and the position of our central station, I won't see guarantees, but it has a very, very high communication rate that when you go down to the street to the redevelopment center or hotels needing high rates of speed and so forth, that's going to be possible. Taking a right at the light and going up the street past Heritage Park, fiber optic already goes up there. And the figure that the technical guy quoted on the phone to us, it costs them roughly $25,000 a mile to put fiber optic in place. And they're staying up here at Heritage Park for the new section we're putting in, the gateway box, the fiber optic. It's about $25,000 and another $2,500 to have an engineer to come in and properly size it and all that. So those are some of the highlights of the conversation that get pretty close to, that took place this week. And again, there are going to be other vendors coming in as time passes to talk about what they can do. So that's my little blurb on Fairpoint. I do have it's kind of a delicate question. I don't want to, but this Orland Dam stuff that's going on, that they're going to vote, if that dam comes down, is that going to impact Bucksport at all? Like isn't behind the golf course?
Well, the golf course gets their water for irrigation.
Gets their water for greening up, eh?
And that will all become tidal.
Yeah, so really it's their town, their dam, they have to decide. There's no, just like, we have input from them on our transfer station. We don't have any such arrangement regarding the dam over there.
I think it will affect a few properties in Bucksport.
It was just a question.
I don't know if we have.
I know it's going to be up for Orland to decide, but I didn't know. I thought about the golf course. Okay, thank you.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Any other discussion items by the council? Yes, Mr. Key.
Mayor, I would remind the people that attend the meetings that you have good questions, but unless you come up here to the front, people out there in TV land don't get to hear you. I don't know how it's going to be with the streaming and what have you, but so come up to the front and say your questions. And there's a gentleman in the audience now that is not the first time that I've heard that they can't hear us at home on the television over and over and over. And Mr. Mayor, you had some thoughts on that, I think, is really bringing in somebody to...
Well, I mean...
We've been trying for, what, 2 years to get this thing resolved?
Possibly even longer through the cable network, Time Warner. Maybe we need to bring in another technical expert. He'll give us some idea of what we're really even looking for, or what the cost would be, so that we can have some information to go back to them and say, hey, look, you promised us this. This is what you should be doing for us. I mean, none of us really know what it's going to take. I don't know if Fairpoint or one of the TV channels might have a technical expert that could give us some advice on it, because it has become an issue.
In my past life, I have had exactly that. And the first thing they're going to tell you is bring your microphone closer to your mouth and don't turn and talk to your neighbor, because when you do, these microphones are focused. They don't have a wide range. So unless you're speaking to them, you're going to lose, you're going to diffuse. When you turn your head this way or sit back here, your part of the issue becomes that you're not. I'm sure Time Warner also puts local cable channels on the farthest, most distant bandwidth there is, so you're not getting great signal anyway, but part of what happens is you need to bring your microphone not close enough so you're doing reverb here, but speak it. The next thing is to have a lapel mic, and that will catch every noise you make, and you won't want that, because there are times when I'm sure everybody doesn't want everyone to hear everything that we might have gasped.
I think, Sue, part of it too is the program that we play routinely over, which is great if you're someone coming into town, you turn on a TV at a motel and see this kind of thing. But I have to crank my TV set up to 60 plus in order to barely hear it. So it's not only this, it's even the replay, the continuous rerun.
And that is related to the Time Warner piece, which is where the channel, they place you. You're not in you just bought that space land. Yeah. You're in the outer reaches of NORA. But on the live broadcast, we do improve when we address the mic. No, we're not perfect, but we're better than when we do that, because the aura of this microphone to collect sound is pretty focused.
And don't rattle any papers and don't cough, I'm told.
Well, I could get you all headsets. You could look like operators. Yeah. Wouldn't that be good? It's another option.
Discussion item. Sitting here watching the presentation from the Comprehensive Committee, it really makes you feel good about the community of Bucksport. I mean, for a long, long time, we were considered a mill town, and that's what people looked at us as. but, looking at what we have and what we've done over the last, 15, 20 years since the last comprehensive program came out, Bucksport's a very diverse community, and we have a lot of programs for all of our citizens. No one really gets left out, even though at times they may feel as though they're left out. But, we do a lot for our citizens. We try to stay balanced and fair. And, we ought to feel good looking at that presentation about who we are as a community. And I just want to thank Jeff and the committee for putting that together. And it makes me look at Bucksport a little bit differently than I did a few hours ago. We have a lot of nice things here, and we're only going to get better. And again, thank you. Any other discussion items? I'd like to go on to item 15, upcoming public hearings, designation of topics for committee assignments, and scheduling of committee meetings. Item A, be in review and approve the 2016-2017 general fund, marina, sewer, and capital improvement budgets for the public hearing on June 9th, 2016. Is that
16. It's not 17. It's 16. What you have in your packets is a summary of the budgets that you've reviewed thus far this year, along with draft adoptions for those, which would be the documents that would be used to advertise public hearings on the budget, on all of these budgets. The majority of areas you've gone over. The one area that you listened to information but made no decisions on was the community and agencies. There were a number of those, and the way it's presented, all of those requests are still intact in the proposal that's there, and you have choices. You can go through those this evening, or you can put it out for public hearing, listen to input at the public hearing, and then make decisions on where you go with the items that have been identified or have been requested.
How would the council like to proceed with that?
I think that the public hearing would be the best way to proceed with it.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So come with your recommendations, and we'll also hear from the public on those.
We just need a vote to put these four budgets that you have included in your packet out for public hearing.
Okay. We have a motion for that?
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the introduction of the four budget items on the public hearing on June 9th, 2016. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item B is schedule a sewer committee meeting to discuss outside water meters. Who's the chairman of that? You?
I don't think so. Sure of it.
Paul Gottman, and then David Key and Bill.
Is there a deadline when we should get this done?
Well, we've had a lot of interest from people who do a lot of outside watering and outside use of water. Right now, there's no provision within our sewer ordinance to offset that, or to allow people to offset outside use by installing an outside meter on their home and then reducing their sewer bill by the amount of usage on a quarterly basis that goes through the outside meter. An outside meter, you water your lawn, you fill your pool, whatever you're doing outside. It's not going into the sewer system. But you've not allowed that. And since the rates have changed, that's become really a large cost for a number of entities that are, keeping the grounds beautiful and doing those kind of things. And so what I'd like the committee to look at is that plus a few other items in that ordinance in order to see if there's a way of allowing that people who chose to do so, what we'd have to do in order to allow it and how we'd get the readings and that kind of thing. But if we could do it prior to the next...
Yeah, June 9th, 6 o'clock.
If we could get something sort of decided, then by the time the next quarter starts for sewer use, then people would be able to start to take advantage of that if they chose to get an outside meter. And as I said, for some people...
Other than Paul and myself, who's the other person on the committee?
Joe York.
Joe York. That'd be you.
Yeah.
Maybe that date okay with you?
That's perfect.
Maybe we should check. I'm sorry?
Meeting that night with another committee, June 9th, waterfront or something.
We have June 2nd, that's waterfront. June 2nd is the overall thing. We'll check, but if we...
Is it possible to have one?
We can have 2 meetings before that.
Yeah.
But that is concerned. The other, it's not on here, but I'd like to have a meeting of the ordinance committee to talk about an ordinance in regard to tax acquired property. You don't have a process for how this gets dealt with in terms of, it's sort of, you have a list, but there's no protocol for how we treat this so that everybody gets treated the same, and so that in tax acquired property, that if we accept money and it gets paid off but it goes back and there are outstanding code violations on it, we've not addressed those in the process because we don't have any process that says that we can even look at that. And the town's practice has been to deed back property prior to all of the money that's owed on the account being paid by just paying off the lien portions and not any other taxes or sewer or whatever else that's also due. And so I'd like the committee to look at, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of them out there that just sort of establishes a protocol that is defensible for the town to go through a standardized process for how it deals with this. It doesn't mean the town won't work with people for payment arrangements or those kind of things. It just defines how we'll do that.
Peter and Paul are on that.
Paul G.
And Peter won't be back until
July.
Well, that's okay. I mean,
It doesn't have to be in this fiscal
it's not
year.
immediate, but we can put that one off till July. And then the only other thing is, it was suggested by our court officer that the council has a number of committees, but there's no real committee to shift buildings or property to. And in terms of enforcement issues, rehab issues, and then foreclosed properties that have other issues, there's no place to send them in terms of that for a committee discussion, whether or not it may make some sense to have a committee of the council that relates to buildings and property. That's a suggestion in order to... We've kind of moved some things to finance. You know, we've done things, but we appear to be having more things, and it would have been the lighthouse thing would have gone to a committee like that. That would have been an issue that would have dealt with that.
Everybody want to think about that?
Think about it, because that would your current
That take a charter
rules
change?
only your rules establish the committees, but you have some committees that are listed and some committees that that aren't listed. I think maybe the looking at your rules in general wouldn't be a bad idea, and then establishing your committees from there.
I think that was something that we were talking about 2 or 3 years ago, too, of reviewing all of our rules and procedures.
Well, we're not only talking, well, as far as the as far as the charter is concerned and all of that, we've started that process. Of course, we haven't met for a long year and a half, probably.
Okay.
All right.
One more thing, Susan. Will we be able to have somebody from Maine Water for that June 9th meeting for the sewer and waste water?
You mean for the outside water meters?
Yes.
Well, what Maine Water has done is referred them to me.
Oh, perfect. I love it.
Which is, they're not averse to people having an outside meter. Many communities allow that, but the issue becomes if you allow people to have them, the water district, the water company's not going to read them. It becomes a property owner responsibility to read them and get the readings turned into the town so that amount can be subtracted by a certain date. That amount can be subtracted from a quarterly reading, and that's generally how that works in communities. And so you have to set up a whole bunch of rules to make sure that doesn't turn into it. Someone doesn't call you for 3 quarters and then calls and says, "Oh, I forgot. What do?" Most people say, "Too bad." You call every quarter or else all bets are off. But since sewer rates, the one thing sewer rates certainly has done is made people much, much more conscious about water use and how it's accounted for and paid for.
Now, I know there's also a minimum on the. Is there many people that go over that, or is it?
No.
No. All right.
Yeah, and that brings up, are we still going to look at the rates?
Well, what we have determined in the budget is that our current rates are certainly well able to support the system from now forward and without the need for an increase in
I guess
a
I'm
good
going
deal.
back to the people that were in my boat where I'm on town sewer with a well, one person, and I'm charged I don't know what the number was.
$195.09.
Just to be exact.
So I know it came up in discussion.
Yeah.
There were other people in that boat that wondered, and I think there's another 2 other categories of people.
Well, the minimum for those on water and sewer is 167.22, 1,800 cubic feet, and the minimum for people on sewer and not town water is based on 2,100 cubic feet, and that's the part that's burning more people than anything else. Just that 3, and that in looking at rates may be something that it's possible to adjust without doing anything terrible to anything else, because that has caused as much heartburn. Why did you pick 21 for us and 18 for everybody else? Has been
maybe it already had, I don't know, when does the debt service start on the water treatment plant down here?
2000, after we take it over in 2017, the first debt service payment becomes due in 2017-18.
The citizenry is going to see some more costs there then.
No.
No?
No. No. We are set up now to be able to, last year and this year, the town has assessed the half of each of that first payment, and that you're doing that on a staggered basis, so you're always going to have collected a year in advance of when you're going to do it. That is a good thing. You're not going to. There's not another aha coming in terms of sewer.
Yes, sir.
In the month of June, municipal solid waste comes up. I assume that'll be the last meeting.
That's going to be the last meeting of June.
In June.
We're going to wait till the last gun is fired. There's more.
Well, the question I had is, will there be a public hearing, or will it be just a?
It's just a
decision.
It's a decision. It will be well advertised. There is more information that I received today on that that'll be getting distributed in regards to who's on first.
One of the newspapers that came out today had pros and cons. It's a lot of press on
Yeah, this is more information in regard to the contracts that both are we're asked to being asked to sign on behalf of both.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion items? If not, we're going to go on to item 16, which is adjournment.
I move this august body adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
storefronts and make it a destination.
The time is now for you to explore ample opportunities for a prosperous future in one of the most beautiful